Today is my day, a brand new beginning.
Welcome back to Talk Up Your Biz, Speak Your Way to More Profits. I'm Jean Noel Bassior, here with my co-host Susan Levin, and our special guest this segment is Dr. Patty Malone. And your upcoming book is called Backstabbing and Envy in the Workplace, right?
Yes, it is.
And you are a communications specialist and a former TV news anchor.
Correct.
In both Nevada and California, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Two markets, two big markets.
And also a college professor.
Yeah, professor at Cal State Fullerton. And so, backstabbing and envy in the workplace. Do you think that goes on at all?
Oh, no. Nobody knows what that means. No, it is so widespread. When I was doing my research on that, I did it for my dissertation and also for my thesis. I sent out over 1,000 surveys, and everybody had experienced it.
Really?
I think only 4 people said they had never experienced it.
Yeah, because something happens in the workplace, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, it does.
What is that?
Well, people want to go for the same things. They have this feeling that there's a scarcity of resources. Maybe 2 people want the same job or a promotion, or maybe they were promised a certain position or a raise after a certain time, and then it goes to somebody else. And people don't like that.
Funny about that.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
It's a lack of having enough, or there's not enough for everybody. It's a competition kind of thing.
Right, yeah, that's how they see it. And a lot of what happens with that is there's this sense of injustice. Something happens and they feel it wasn't fair. They feel maybe the boss is playing favorites, they promoted their friend or somebody that they knew or liked better, or they've been waiting for something for a long time and then a new person comes in with no experience and hops into that position. And then they feel that wasn't fair. Now, that doesn't give them the right to backstab that person, but that is what happens a lot.
So what do they do? How do they get back?
Oh, they do so many different things. That was one of the areas I was focusing on. They do things like spread rumors, make up lies, lie to the person, lie about the person, withhold information that they need to get things done.
This is like the FBI not talking to the CIA.
Yeah.
Do they slash their tires too?
That's getting more into like physical types of things. And
we did not give out any ideas on this show.
Also, they do things like take credit. That happens a lot. People are upset because they did the work and somebody else took all the credit.
Right. That happened to a friend of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very frequent.
Yeah.
And you deal in miscommunication as well, because about this NASA thing, what happened there? Some people were working with inches and others were working with centimeters. And
yes, this is a perfect example of miscommunication, how it can break down in organizations, especially between teams and departments. So one team was measuring in inches, and the other team was measuring in centimeters.
For the Mars probe, right?
Yes, so it cost NASA $300 million more on the Mars probe because of that. A big cost for a small miscommunication, right?
Yeah, miscommunication is a really big issue.
It is, and people don't recognize how bad it is. It's like companies waste $37 billion a year due to miscommunication.
That's staggering.
And 89% of those companies reported reduced productivity the previous year due to miscommunication. 70% of organizational change efforts fail due to miscommunication. And 400 companies reported they'd put their own employees or the public at risk of physical injury due to miscommunication.
Wow,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Those are amazing.
That's
so you
numbers.
go into companies and you straighten this mess out, eh?
I do. I help them prevent breakdowns like that, as well as to fix ones that have already occurred, especially by opening up communication across teams and departments. And it happens so often. One team will do something and have no clue how much it's impacting all these other departments. And then another department will find out about the change from a client or from a customer instead of from within their company.
Yeah.
Either that, or they may do something, they've changed the way a process or policy. So one department turns in a form the way they always have, and then the other department says, oh, we're not doing it that way anymore. We're not accepting it like this. We've changed it. Well, when was somebody going
Just
to
thought
tell
we'd
us?
let you know.
Exactly.
There's this expression where the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing.
Yes.
My grandma used to say that all the time. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we don't think of that in multi-million-dollar corporations. I mean, we
Right.
kind of assume
Right.
Yeah,
But
it happens all the time.
How do you find your clients? How do they find you?
Well, it's a combination. I do a lot of speaking. I speak to different groups and organizations and companies. And a lot of times then somebody will bring me into their company to give them a free consultation about potential communication issues, or where they're already having some.
Yeah.
And one good thing, though, is most of these companies recognize communication as a core value, and they realize the importance of it. So they want to fix things before they start getting out of control or before it starts turning into a toxic environment, because that spreads like a disease. It's like typically what will happen is maybe somebody's having a conflict and they'll think, oh, this is just these two people, we'll let them work it out. Well, that's not what's happening. That's just the tip of the iceberg. A lot more is going on underneath. These people try and get people to take sides. Then you start splitting teams and departments. Those people who don't want to take sides don't want to be around those people. They don't even want to go to work. They don't want to be in that kind of an environment. And it just gets worse. It's like a snowball that starts down the hill. Next thing you know, you've got an avalanche and it can just spin out of control.
So what makes them want to talk to you when you go in? What do you do to unravel this whole thing, this mess?
Well, there's a lot of things I do. I will actually go in and I will interview people one-on-one to get a real feel for people from the different departments, find out where the communication breakdowns are, what their concerns are, what they feel like they need help with. I will also listen in on phone meetings if they're having conference calls, and like a fly on the wall, so they don't know that I'm there, and then that way I can notice where the breakdowns are occurring. In fact, I've got a really great example. This one company I was helping, I was listening in to one of these phone meetings, and it was a sales team. And there was one woman who was very excited about this idea she had to increase sales, and she was sharing it with everybody in the conversation. She says, oh, I'm so excited, I got this idea, blah, 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 blah. And then after she gave her idea, the manager said, that's not going to happen. And you could hear a pin drop. It was like dead silence. It was basically like cutting her off at the knees. So she had been really excited. She's probably not going to be volunteering too many more ideas after that. There's a lot of other ways that could have been handled, like, well, let's talk about it more. Where did you get this idea? Why do you think that's a great idea? Start asking questions, or at the very least, if you know it's not going to work, maybe you tried something like that before, to say that. Well, we tried something like that similar before, and it is a good idea, but we found that this didn't work because of this. But to just cut somebody off, like, that's not going to happen.
So
that's not good communication.
So that has to do with listening skills also,
Absolutely.
Right?
That's very important. People don't listen. In fact, people don't listen 75% of the time.
True.
When we're in conversations, 25% they're focused. The rest of the time they're in their heads. They're thinking about what they're going to say next.
Or they're texting, or they're looking at their email. Jean Noel and I have this conversation often. She can hear me typing. Are you on your computer?
Well, you are the world's. She multitasks. She's doing. Okay, so now I've accepted she does 5 things at once whenever I talk with her.
But sometimes you try to emulate me.
Well, I'm learning. I am trying, because I really think that today sometimes you have to multitask. But I digress. So, did your experience as a news anchor help you in this? I mean, how did you get into communication?
Good question.
Well, actually, let me tell you about why I got interested in backstabbing. When I started in TV, I decided I wanted to be a TV news anchor. So in my first TV job, before I was an anchor, I was fairly new, I saw 2 people applying for the same reporter on-camera position. One of them sabotaged the microphone, so when the other person went out, it would ruin their audition tape.
Oh, God.
And I saw that, and I thought, oh, my gosh, why are people doing this kind of stuff? And then I went on to become a TV news anchor. And it wasn't all like that. I worked at TV stations that were great. Everybody got along well. We worked hard. We played hard. We were good friends. But there were situations where it was not good. There was a toxic environment. People were out to sabotage each other, trying to get ahead. I'm going to get ahead no matter what. I don't care what the cost is to you. I don't care how it hurts you. That type of thing. So that's how I got interested in that.
Wow. So tell us again, how can people reach you and hire you and
speak for their groups?
Yeah. Right. Okay. I would go to my website, which is www.drpattymalone.com. And the doctor's not spelled out, so it's drpattymalone.com. That's the best way to reach me. And then on the website, you can find phone numbers and email addresses and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. And when is your book coming out?
It should be this summer.
Okay, good.
Yes.
And so if someone is experiencing this right now, a backstabbing problem, what's your best advice? What should they do? There's
a couple of things. The first thing is to consider, is there something that they have a legitimate reason to be upset about? Start with that and find out what's going on with them. Ask them questions, talk to them, listen to what they have to say. Try and show appreciation for something they're doing right. And I know that sounds hard. It can be challenging because if you're upset they just did something, find out where they're coming from. Now, they may not have a legitimate reason. By legitimate, I mean something that they perceived was like a wrongdoing to them. There are people who just like drama. They like to stir up trouble, or they're just angry and they lash out. And I'm sure we've all experienced being around people like that.
Our producer is laughing.
Yeah, we can all relate to that. Now, if that's the case, it's still a good idea to try and reach them first on a one-on-one basis. If that doesn't work, you may need to bring in an outside person to try and help with it. If they don't want to change, in some cases, it's better to just let them go so they don't poison the environment. And another thing we can do for ourselves, we want to maintain a peaceful working relationship, is just not react. Don't give that knee-jerk trigger react when they do something. Just keep our own emotions in check and listen to what we're saying to ourselves in our head. Are we saying, he's a jerk, she shouldn't have done that, how can I make him change? Instead, change the conversation to, I wonder what's going on in that person's life that I don't know about that's making them feel this way. There could be so many other things contributing to it, and we don't know. We just assume that we know. So there's several different things that we can do.
And I wanted to make a point to share with you all. Patty's one of our speakers, and when she came to us, and took my class, Market Yourself as a Speaker, she said she wanted to do video.
Yeah.
And we talked about all the different ways of doing video. So if you go to her website or get onto her email list, she sends out a weekly or every other week video tip. That's just fabulous. It's beautifully done.
You learned from your background in doing TV news that any tips you could give to people when they are trying to go out there and start talking about their business, if it's the first time, and they're kind of nervous about it? Or?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny. Like going from TV to speaking is honestly completely different.
Really?
When it's kind of like this situation. When you're in the studio with a TV camera, that's all that's there. There's one or two people
and a teleprompter.
cueing you. Yeah. And so it's not the same as being in front of an audience. The first time I got in front of an audience, I was really scared. Also, the first time I got in front of the TV camera, I was really scared. When I saw that red light come on, I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody's watching.
Showtime.
Yeah. So it's actually different. But the best thing as far as speaking is just go out and do it. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. The more comfortable you get with it, the more prepared you are, the better you get at it. And just try and be authentic. Don't worry about being the perfect person or delivering the perfect speech or anything like that. Just be authentic. Be who you are. Speak from your heart and communicate what you really feel. And I think that makes a big difference.
Good advice.
Yeah. Well, we're going to a break now. We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
Gave us a lot of wonderful tips. And when we come back, we'll be talking to Ashley Arnn, who's a licensed MFT, or marriage and family therapist, and the author of Passionate Texting. Well, that's going to be interesting to hear what she has to say. So we're coming to you from LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk. And this is Talk Up Your Biz, Speak Your Way to More Profits. Don't go away. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Taking a stand.